Okay, what's up guys? It's your boy Jade from Salamo Photography. Today I'm going to be walking you through the process of how this image was created to this very point. But before we go into the tutorial proper, I'd like you to have a sneak peek of how this was created. Sorry I was a bit late. I got the idea of working on a tutorial for this behind the scenes because we put out the images there, and then a couple of people really wanted to understand how these images were created. And my presets, how I came across this color profile, the color grading process in Lightroom, because most of the work was actually done in Lightroom and then just a little bit of adjustments in Photoshop. Well, if you could see over here, this is where we had I just took down the temperature a little bit because I was looking for something that looked a little bit on the HDR side, but kind of cold, not really warm, because I wanted the water to look crisp and all that. So I took down the temperature a little bit, took up the contrast, just so the features in the image could stand out a little bit, and then took down the highlights, took up the shadows a little bit, for some dramatic stuff. This kind of flattens out the image, but you don't feel much of it because the contrast is up, like way up there. And then I took up the whites and dropped the blacks, so you're still retaining the contrast of the image, the overall image. And if you notice, I took the clarity all the way up because I wanted that HDR feel, like everything standing out. You could see the water, even though it was a little bit off focus at some point. You could only see that much of a crisp focus around here because we shot this on a wide aperture. It was actually f1.8 at 25 mm, so it was a little bit of a problem because it was manual focus, and I had to get these things in focus while he was actually shaking the wine glass. So it was a bit of a hustle. We had to do it a couple of times over and over before we could come up with this particular image. And then since I was going for something that is cold, something that felt cold and moody and all that, it took down the vibrance and then compensated for that in the saturation. But this is okay. I guess that's quite self-explanatory. All right, so on the hue here, I just took up the reds a little bit, took up the greens, just to take them towards the aqua shade, and then just a little bit of the blues towards the purple, but just a little bit to balance it out. Not so much was going on here. But on the luminance, I took the green all the way up, if you notice the difference. But it doesn't really make much of a difference to the overall image. This is where the split toning is actually where the feel of the image came through. The split toning, I had this color selected for the highlights and the shadows, giving a bluish tone to the shadows. And if you don't know how the split toning works, probably you could let me know in the comment section below. Yeah, you could let me know in the comment section below, and I would probably make a video on that. But I'm just running over what I did in the image here, and then I made the shadows more of a bluish tone, and then took the balance higher, so it's only the blacks, practically just the blacks, that would be affected on this, giving this tone, and then the highlights having this grayish kind of tone. It still adds up to the cold feel, overall cold feel of the image. Not much of warmth there, and then a little bit of sharpening and noise reduction because it wasn't tack sharp, so had a little bit of noise coming through. So put on the noise reduction and vignettes. Trust me, I do this a lot, and having the subject, like the main focus of the image right here, the way the image was composed. I really wanted to have that vignette so it could pull your focus towards the wine glass and then the water all over the place. That's why I went, had to take, put in, pour in a lot of vignettes on it. And basically that's everything for what happened in Lightroom. After doing that, I took over the image to Photoshop. Okay, over here on Photoshop, I didn't really do much of a difference, but if you notice, there's more depth to this, because I looked at the image and I still wanted to emphasize the water and the wine glass and everything. So all I did was I put on, let me take this image. So this is the only difference that is going on here. If you notice, this just adds to the depth of field on the image. So I really wanted a shallow depth of field, and then setting that focus, emphasizing the fact that this could really be sharp, giving that illusion that it was sharp, even though I kind of slightly missed the focus. Yeah, so first I duplicated the image actually, and then where is it? Okay, right over here, lens blur, and took it really high. The radius was really high, So let me see if we could run that again. Okay, this is the last setting. The radius was 83, blade curvature of 29, so it gives that feel like it's the real depth of field kind of thing. Yeah, and I threw that on the layer and then worked with the layer mask. If you don't know how to work with a layer mask, I have a tutorial already on that. And okay, I'm going to leave the link in the description below, so you could check that out if you don't really know how to work with the layer mask tool. Okay, so I did that and then just unmasked sorry, God, English. Okay, unmasked the areas where I wanted to still retain sharpness. That's around the hand area here, the water splashing over here, there, that way. So we actually pull the image from this point to this point. Not much of a difference, but it makes a whole lot of difference to the person who is going to be looking at the image at the end of the day. So basically that's it. In the case of this image, I actually did the very same thing. So this is actually the overall, the original image. We go from this point to this point. So I had to, work with the perspective here on the image, because it seemed a little bit off that the muse in the background, it wasn't much of a great composition, because at this point here, this wasn't straight, and I wanted it to be straight, having that beautiful composition, in the image. I couldn't get it to be perfect, but this is way better than, this is the original image, and then this is very good. So this looks a little bit distorted, and this looks a bit more balanced, just a little bit here. So what I did was use the transform tool, Control T, and then place your hand on Control or Command on the Mac, and then you pull, you could play around with the perspective. So that's what I did, setting that up. And because of that, if you notice, this area here was a little bit affected, so it looks like a little bit distorted on this point, a little bit distorted on that point. And then I did the same blurring effect here, lens blur, and then just pulling out what I wanted to be like in focus, just to emphasize on the depth of field over there. And this doesn't really matter. This is something that has to do with the watermark. Yeah. So I put on the liquify tool and corrected this portion, this place that was pretty distorted. If you look at it, I just took it up a little bit so it could look more and look more convincing and more natural, and then also pull out the water a little bit just to make it more there. I just felt it was going to look nicer that way, but it's what works for you best. It's more of a thing of personal preference. And I felt, since I had a couple of images lying around from the shoot, I just replicated, pulling out the water and masking. You see these other drops, I actually just put up portions from the other images and then dropped them just to make it look more dramatic. Yeah, so this portion here is the same portion we have on this image. I just pulled up this portion and put it over here and then masked it out. Yeah, so that's basically everything that went down on this image. I hope you actually learned this, and if you're going to try something like this out, you could reach out to me or use the hashtag on use the hashtag creative switch on Instagram or wherever it is. I'm going to be looking out. You could send me a DM on Instagram as well. You can check me out at Salem Ochidi. That's SALEM OCHID. I actually drop a link to in the description below. And also, yeah, the muse in this particular photo is Emi Akbar, is also a photographer in Jos. I'm going to drop a link to his page as well in the description, and you could check him out. He's got great work going on there. So I'll see you guys next time on Creative Switch. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and drop a comment if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, anything you'd like us to do next time, and we'll put up a lot of tutorials, serve you better. And yeah, so see you guys. Ciao ciao.